Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my limited set review for the Magic the Gathering Spider-Man set / the Through the Omenpaths set. Because if you haven't heard already, the Spider-Man set's going to look like this in paper, but this in digital, because they didn't secure the Spider-Man rights for digital clients. So we have like in-universe Magic versions of all the Spider-Man cards on the MTG Arena client. However, we're talking about the bonus sheet today. So one in every 24 packs will get one of these cards or these cards in your play boosters. So they will be part of the limited format that's draft and sealed. They're not legal and standard, so don't worry about any of that stuff, but they will show up in your drafts. So I wanted to talk about them today. There are 40 of them, and they're all reprints. So we're getting a bunch of cards, like all the Magic ones are just the old art that we've had in the past. So you will probably be very familiar with them when you're playing on MTG Arena. It'll just be cards that you've already seen before. Maybe you played in Commander or things like that. Because the bonus sheet is a fun place to add a bunch of reprints and fun cards that seem a little on theme. Maybe add something to the draft format, but a lot of the times they're kind of just adding to the value of play boosters for constructed players. But it is good to go through, look at all the cards just to know what we have going on. I'm going to give every single card a rating from A to F. So A's are bombs. They're the best cards. They're the ones that are super cool. You show them off to your friends. B's are cards that actively pull you into that color, and you look at packs and you're like, oh, this color must be open. I'm going to go into that color now. C's are the majority of your deck. It's like kind of the bread and butter and stuff. So yeah, they're all playable. D's are cards you actively don't want to play. They're just not really getting there. They're not really good, or they're kind of dicey. And Fs are cards you absolutely should not play under any circumstance. They're for other formats. This bonus sheet will have more of those just because they're not really made for us. So let's start us off with Path to Exile. It's a single white for an instant. It says exile target creature. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. All right, I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, Path to Exile, this is an amazing card. You have to play this. No, you don't. So this is a really cheap removal spell. It gets rid of any creature. It gets rid of anything that has indestructible. It exiles, like it's gone, gone, gone. You don't have to worry about reanimation or anything like that for 1 white mana. That's very exciting. But I do think, I think you can play this card. You definitely can. But the downside in a 1v1 format of giving your opponent a land to the battlefield of whatever color they want, people pay 3 mana to do that. So I don't know. I think this is still playable. I'll still put this in my decks. It's like a C+ though. The cheap part of it is the best part, obviously, and then it catches anything. But don't just slam this on any creature that you see, because the downside of ramping your opponent is really bad. Because you're probably going to, if you kill something that's like 3 or 4 mana and then you ramp them, they're probably going to kill you with something bigger. So if you hold on to this and you kill their best thing and then they get lands when they're just top decking, that's like the best case scenario. So just watch out with this card. If you have this in your opening hand, sometimes you might be just accelerating your opponent to kill you. So that's why it's getting like a C range, where it's definitely playable, but be wary of Path to Exile. Next up, we have Reprieve, which is 1 and a white for an instant. Return target spell to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Great. This is traditionally like a blue effect, where white doesn't often get to interact with spells on the stack, so that's pretty nice. And you do get your card back. It really is just a tempo thing. So you're playing this card because you want to either probably not stop your opponent's removal spell, but if they're playing their big bomb, you're like, okay, I don't really want to deal with that this turn. You have to wait another turn to be able to do that. So it stops their ETBs and all that, which is nice. You get your card back. But ultimately, it doesn't do a ton. It kind of, if you don't have any way to capitalize on the tempo that you're getting from this card, like attacking your opponent because they don't have blockers or anything like that, it's just kind of like a band-aid. It doesn't really solve any problems, and it doesn't you're still the same on cards, right? You spent mana, but you get another card back, and then your opponent just has to respend their mana. So hopefully you're just getting a mana advantage where you spent 2 and they spent 6, and then they have to spend 6 mana again. So I think it's kind of like a C-. It's also a playable card, but I wouldn't first pick this card. I'm not very excited for it. Yeah. Anyway, next up we have Rest in Peace. 1 and a white for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, exile all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Okay. No, we don't want to play this card in our best of 1 drafts. In your best of 3 drafts, maybe in your sideboard, but you'd want to get this on the wheel. Like, this is not going to be a high pick. It doesn't do very much. There's only certain decks that, like, there are Reanimator things going on in this set. And it's like a little bit of Graveyard Matters, but it's not like you're playing, it's not rampant. Like, it's not going to be super helpful all the time. And yeah, this is just an F. Just don't put this in your deck. And there's the smallest, teeny tiniest little case that you might have it in your sideboard, and then you'll be able to bring it in for like the certain matchup that you want. But overall, I think we should just pass this by. Let your opponents take this card, or just the other people at the pod. Next up, we have 9 lives. 1 white for an enchantment. It has hexproof. It says, if a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage, put an incarnation counter on this enchantment. When there are 9 or more incarnation counters on this enchantment, exile it. And then when this enchantment leaves the battlefield, you lose the game. They're obviously making a joke with Black Cat because they want to do some cats things. So I think that's funny. I'm glad that they like added this artwork to the game. But this is a really bad card. Like, you don't want to play this ever. It really turns like all of their little creatures into like really big threats. Like, yeah, there's a scenario where you like play this and you like survive for a turn and so you feel good, but then you're just gonna die when this is gone, and there's no real way to stop it from happening. There used to be like a historic combo where you'd play 9 lives in Solemnity so it could never get counters, and then you just have like a lock and your opponent can't do anything. So there's that, but that's not in draft. That's not what we're talking about. So this card's an F. You don't want to play this at all. But could be funny and constructed, but no, not a draft card. Please don't take this card. Next up, we have Comeuppance, which is 3 and a white for an instant. It says, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn by sources you don't control. If damage from a creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that creature. If damage from a non-creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to the creature's controller. This card is good. I like Comeuppance. It always gets me, like, this is the card that gets played in Commander, and it's the kind of thing that I have one friend that plays this all the time, and he always gets me with it, and it's so annoying. But also in a 1v1 format, I think that if you're attacking into like 4 white mana, I mean, there's already a bunch of reasons why you would have been scared of that, just like from playing Magic over the years. 4 white mana is like, okay. But this one in the draft format, it's going to be really scary, and it won't really happen that often. Like, 1 in 24 packs, you won't see these a ton in your drafts. Also because, I didn't mention this before, but the draft format, we're fairly positive is just a pick 2 format, so you're playing with 4 players, so you get half as many cards are open, so you're not going to probably see this as much, though you probably wouldn't anyway, because I think this card is probably something you'd like to take. I enjoy the fog effect kind of thing where your opponent swings out and then you just prevent all the damage and wipe their board. Because most creatures have power equal to their toughness. So every once in a while there's like some 3/4s and stuff that won't die to this. But I think it's really good. I'm just going to give it a B though. Holding up 4 mana is a lot to hold up. So that is kind of difficult. You might want this in like a white-blue deck where you could do stuff on their turn, so you're not just wasting your mana holding out Comeuppance all the time, because that's the biggest downside, is that it's so expensive. But if you ever let it, like it ever happens, it's really strong. Just remember, it only prevents damage to you and planeswalkers, not your creatures. So don't block some of them. Just like don't block any of them, basically, when you play this card. But no, I think this is a B. I like it, and that's also kind of funny. Next up, we have Wedding Ring. It's 2 white for an artifact. It says, when this artifact enters, if it was cast, target opponent creates a token that's a copy of it. So you and your opponent both get this ability. It says, whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring draws a card during their turn, you draw a card. And whenever an opponent who controls an artifact named Wedding Ring gains life during their turn, you gain that much life. No, this is an F. This is a commander card. Obviously, it works really well when you have 4 players, so you get to like marry one person, and then both of you get to like I don't know, draw cards and gain life together. But when you're playing against one person, like there isn't really a life gain deck, so it's not just like, oh, they're going to gain a bunch of life, and then I also get to gain that life. And then when you're drawing the cards, you're just, you know, you both are drawing cards. I don't know. It seems like a waste for 4 mana. It's like expensive to do an effect that's not getting you ahead. It's just kind of keeping you the same all the time. It just seems not worth it. Yeah, don't play this card. It's not for us. Next up, we have Leyline Binding, which is 5 and a white for an enchantment. It has flash, and it also has domain. It says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each basic land type among lands you control. When this enchantment enters, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. Okay, so I think Leyline Binding is actually pretty good. It is 6 mana, but obviously you're playing like a 2-color deck. Like, don't put this in a 1-color deck because it's a lot worse there. But most every deck you're playing is 2 colors. And so this is basically like 4 mana flash, exile something, which is pretty good. We have like a 3 mana one that doesn't have flash, and that's already like a B-. So this one's going to be a little bit more expensive. You won't really be able to get it down to 1 mana. That's like the, you know, the magical Christmas land, just because, you know, we don't have... You're probably not playing 5 colors. There's a possibility that you could, but I don't think that that's really feasible. But 4 mana flash, get rid of something, that still feels like a C+ to a B-. Like, it's still a good card. So I would definitely play this. But it is more expensive than the common version. But yeah, I'll give it a B-. I think this card's pretty good. It just kind of looks super expensive, but it gets discounted fairly quickly. So yeah, B- for the binding. Next up, we have Ponder, which is a single blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order you may shuffle, and you draw a card. So this is just kind of card selection. You're not up cards, but you get to look at a bunch of stuff. If you don't like anything, you shuffle your deck and then just draw a random one. We don't really have a Spells Matters thing in this set. So Ponder is a cantrip, obviously, so you usually like it when a bunch of your cards trigger off of you just cantripping, and it's like you just have a bunch of air in your deck and you're just like spending 1 mana to draw a card to find another card that says draw a card, and then your creatures get bigger, or they, you know, get to attack your opponent, or they deal damage. Because that's not the case, I think this is kind of like a C. Like, you could play this, it's totally fine, but its power is not really there. Like, a lot of the strength of this card is kind of gone. So yeah, I do think it's better than Brainstorm, where like you don't lock yourself out, because you do get to just like you could just shuffle, which is nice. The fact that that's just tacked on and it's not just Brainstorm where you Brainstorm lock yourself. You like have this in your opening hand and you're like, okay, I actually could search for lands. It's like, I only have 2 lands. I need my 3rd. I'll look at the top couple. If there's a land, I'll draw it. If not, I can just shuffle it and then hope for the best. So I do like that, but probably like a C. It still takes up a whole slot in your deck. Next up, we have Counterspell, just classic, straight up Counterspell. It's blue for an instant counter target spell. Yeah, this card's great. The hardest part about this card is it's blue, but I still think it's like a B, because it's just a straight up good spell. We do have a really strong cancel in this format, which costs 1 more than this. But no, I think Counterspell is just good, and there are some scary things that you want to counter. And people and webbing and using Mayhem still cast their spells, so you can counter all that stuff. So, you know, seems solid. Always feels bad when you get countered by just straight up Counterspell, because there's nothing you could have done. Yeah, hard counters, great. All right. Next up, we have Clever Impersonator, which is 2 blue for a 0/0 creature shapeshifter. It says you may have this creature enter as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. Okay, so there is a clone effect in the base set, but it's a creature that has to clone one of your creatures. I didn't like that one nearly as much as this. So this type of clone effect is awesome. Also, it just says it can do any non-land permanent. So if your opponent has like their web up or anything, where it's like that's the Banishing Light, You just be like, oh, 4 mana, I'm going to copy your Banishing Light, I'm going to hit your thing. Anything on the battlefield is fair game. The only thing you can't do is ramp. So, I don't know, this card is very powerful. 4 mana for a clone is very normal, but the versatility of this is fantastic. And if your opponent has anything amazing, which is the biggest part about this, like, you get to catch up because your opponent played something huge and you're like, sweet, I'll play something huge too. Yeah, I do like this. This is like a B level card. But the fact, you know, it might even go to like a B plus, because the fact that you get to do enchantments and stuff is super helpful. But the majority of the time, you're probably just doing the best creature on the battlefield. But I guess there is, maybe we keep it at a B, because there are a lot of legendary creatures. So if you have a great creature yourself that you want to copy, this won't do that. And then maybe you're in a situation where it's like, well, my opponent's creatures kind of suck. I have the best one, and I can't make another copy of it because of the legendary thing, which the other one, I think, skirts. So I guess there is that thing, but I still think this is a B. I like Clever Impersonator. Next up, we have Mindbreak Trap, which is 2 blue for an instant trap. It says, if an opponent casts 3 or more spells this turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the spell's mana cost. And it says, exile any number of target spells. No. 3 spells in a turn is a lot of spells. In Limited, we're just trying to double spell as much as we can. If your opponent's playing 3 spells a turn, I think you countering 1 for free is not going to be enough for you to get back into that game. You might just be toast at that point. And a 4 mana counter spell just on its own, I get you are exiling the spells, but like your stack isn't going to be huge. Yeah, I think that this goes in constructed formats for, you know, sideboard things. I don't think we want to play this. This is just an F. No Mindbreak Traps for us. Next up, we have Rite of Replication, which is 2 blue for a sorcery. It has Kicker for 5, so you could pay 9 mana if you'd like. It says, create a token that's a copy of target creature. If the spell was kicked, create 5 of those tokens instead. Cool. So this is very similar to the Clever Impersonator. Obviously, it's a sorcery instead, but it has the ceiling of being able to make a ton of tokens, which is really exciting. You can't hit non-land permanents, so you don't get to do the whole, like, hit their Banishing Light or Web Up or whatever. So that flexibility is why I think this is like a B minus. But the mana cost and what you're getting, I still think this is pretty great. And the biggest thing, you can get your opponent's stuff. Like, that's what you want to do with clones. You want to target your opponent's stuff. If you can't do that, I don't like them. It just feels so bad when you are just trying to draw a creature and then you draw a clone that says, clone a creature you control. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just die. But yeah, and, you know, who knows? Maybe you'll get to the 9 mana. Keeping the dream alive in your deck is so fun. And this is one of those cards that can keep the dream alive. So yeah, I like this. It's a B minus. Just because it, you know, doesn't do anything on its own. But I do like this card. Next up, we have Mystic Confluence, which is 3 blue for an instant. It says, choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. So counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand or draw a card. Yeah, buddy. This card's so good. This is a B plus in my book. I don't think we crack into the A range. But because it is like... A's tend to be ones that can actually end the game, and this just like kind of helps you survive. But, you know, instant speed, counter something, bounce. It's just whatever you want to do. You can counter a spell and draw 2 cards. You can counter a spell, or make sure you for sure counter the spell, because they have to pay like 9, but 5 mana to just counter 1 spell kind of sucks. Bouncing 3 creatures is really good. Drawing 3 cards. Like, there's so many things you can do. It just like, you just hold up Mana Confluence and you get to do just whatever is the best thing at that time. Really strong effect. And yeah, I think we're going to like this card. Obviously, it's proven to be great. It's a good card. All right, next up we have Traumatize. 3 blue for a sorcery. Target player mills half their library rounded down. No, don't play this card. This is an F. Get it out of here. Half their library seems so exciting, but it doesn't ever kill them. Like, it never mills them to death, right? Just think about it that way. Like, this card will never win you the game. You have to have other cards that help mill as well, and we don't have those. So this is just an F. Don't play this card. Just let it pass you by. Next up, we have Lorthos, the Tide Maker. It's 5 blue, blue, blue for an 8/8 legendary creature octopus. It says whenever Lorthos attacks, you may pay 8. If you do, tap up to 8 target permanents. Those permanents don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Okay. This is triple blue, so already hard to cast. It is a giant creature, and it has a huge effect. But you have to attack with it, and you have to spend 16 mana total to do that. I just think it's so hard. Like, there is a way, there's like the Amazing Spider-Man that lets you like, you can end web creatures, or I guess Amazing Spider-Man, you web sling in legendary creatures. But then the problem is like, oh sweet, I got to play my 8/8, which is good. But you have to have 8 mana to still do the ability. There is a world where you like slam this, they can't deal with it. You pay 8 mana, you tap all their permanents, and then you just do that every single turn. It also taps permanents, not non-land permanents. So you can tap down your opponent's lands if you're in the situation where it's like, all right, tap your 4 blockers and 4 of your lands so you can't deal with me. Or tap the blockers that matter and then all of your lands. So it is very strong. It's a really strong card. I just think that the situations where you're actually going to be able to utilize this are kind of few and far between. So I think it's probably like a C- where it's one of those things where it's like, it's either a D because you can't do anything with it and you just die, or it's an A because you're able to use it to its full potential. So I think that falls into more of like a C category where it's like, there's going to be so many games. 8 mana is a lot. Like 8 sounds like 1 more than 7, but 8 is so much harder to get to than 7. So, and triple blue. And it doesn't have an ETB. It doesn't do anything when it enters. You have to attack and pay more mana. Yeah, it's a D. I'm just going to keep it down as a D. I don't really want to play this card, but I wouldn't fault my opponent for playing it. It would really suck if they killed me with it. I guess there technically is a reanimator thing. But once again, like if you have a reanimator package, you discard this card, you return it to the battlefield. It doesn't do anything, and then you have to have 8 mana on the next turn to actually utilize it. Or you just, I guess you have an 8/8. That's cool. I don't know. I still think it's a D. I think there's better things to reanimate, but yeah. Sorry, Lorthos. You're just kind of an old card, and you would do way more nowadays, so yeah, kind of leaving you behind. Next up, we have the black cards. First one up is Reanimate. We have a single black for a sorcery. Put target card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. Yeah! I like this a lot. 1 mana reanimation is awesome. Obviously, the huge downside is you want to reanimate a really big, expensive creature, and this will dome you for a bunch. Like, if you reanimated Lorthos, you'd take 8, which is almost half your life. That's a ton. But 1 mana is really nice. So I would probably want to use this in a little more of like a Mayhem type deck where you're discarding some cards or playing some stuff, and then you can reanimate some things. And maybe you're only reanimating like 3 or 4 drops, and it only costs you 1 mana to do it. So then, well, I guess 1 mana and some life. But this would be more in that kind of style deck, as opposed to a classic reanimator like green, black, or black, blue in this case. I think the set is more black, blue. We're trying to reanimate huge things, unless it has lifelink. But yeah, this is a B+. I like Reanimate. I think it's strong. Yeah, great card. Also, sweet art. I like that. Next up, we have Feed the Swarm, which is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. This is a B. It's just a solid removal spell. You do have to watch out about losing too much life here, just like the last one. But, you know, if you're destroying your opponent's, like, Banishing Light, or Web Up is what it's called, it just costs 3 mana, and in black you're able to do that. That's pretty cool. Rarely do you get to do that. So the fact that you have that extra versatility is really great for this card. But it does suck when you draw this and you're trying to kill their big bomb, and you're like, well, I don't have enough life to survive killing that bomb, so that kind of sucks. So yeah, maybe I think the versatility helps, but think of this card as a card that technically could kill the big stuff, but you're probably trying to kill like 3 mana value stuff in general. Next up, we have Infernal Grasp, which is 1 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature, you lose 2 life. Yeah, this just kills anything for 2 mana. This is like a B+. Yeah, you lose 2 life, but you only lose 2 life. You're not going to lose any more than that. All of these cards made you lose life, but this is the one that feels like you're going to lose the least amount, and it has a really strong effect. So, yeah, Infernal Grasp is great. B+, if I see this go around, I'll be like, oh my god, okay, yeah, black is open. Yeah, you're coming home with me. Next up, we have Opposition Agent, which is 2 and a black for a 3/2 creature human rogue, has flash. It says you control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. No. Technically, this is like a 3 mana 3/2 flash. So that's like a D. Like, we don't really want to play that. You're not going to get the searching your opponent's library thing, like, ever. And if the thing that we search for in our libraries are lands. So you could, I guess, technically get them. You get them, they search for a land, and you steal it. And then you could play that land. I don't think that that's really worth putting this in your deck. So yeah, if you want to flash ambush something for 3 mana, go for it. I think this is like a D, though. Yeah. Next up, we have Saw in Half. It's 2 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature. If that creature dies this way, its controller creates 2 tokens that are copies of that creature, except their power is half that creature's power and their toughness is half that creature's toughness. Round up each time. Okay. I know this card is really cool in Commander and stuff, and like older formats where you have a specific creature that you're trying to get multiple ETB effects from. Because you destroy your own creature, you make 2 copies, and then you get the enters the battlefield stuff. But in Limited, I don't think we want to spend mana to kill our own creatures and make them smaller. That sounds really bad. I think this is... There could be a situation where it'd be kind of interesting, but I don't think we want to play this card at all. I think that... And then killing your opponent's big creatures and then you give them 2? Like, giving them anything when we kill their stuff is bad, but taking 1 creature and splitting it into 2 sounds like a really bad deal for us. So I don't think there's really much use case for this at all. I'm just going to give this an F. I think people are going to want to play this card and they just shouldn't. Yeah, spending mana to kill your own creature... maybe there's a great ETB I'm not remembering from the set that's like so bonkers you want it a bunch, but no. No, don't play this card. Next up we have Skithrix, the Blight Dragon. It's 3 black for a 4/4 legendary creature, Phyrexian Dragon Skeleton. It has flying. It has Infect. An Infect is an ability where they've changed it now, where we have Toxic, where it deals damage and they get like a poison counter. Infect is where instead of dealing damage, you deal poison damage. So this deals 4 poison when it hits your opponent. Also, when it deals damage to creatures, it deals damage in -1/-1 counters. So there's that. Anyway, you can pay black and Skithrix gets haste. So for 6 mana, just pump in. And then for black, you can regenerate Skithrix, which taps it and basically makes a shield, so it can't really... If there's something that was going to destroy it or deal lethal damage, it does not do that. So part of the strength of Skithrix is that Skithrix can obviously kill your opponent because it has Infect and it has flying. And so they have to deal with this giant flyer that's hard to kill because you can just regenerate it. And it can also come down out of nowhere and just attack your opponent. But the other problem with this card is that because it has Infect, you have to kill them with Infect damage, right? Like your other creatures that are dealing damage and making your opponent lose life don't help you get the poison plan, and then Skithrix doesn't help you get the damage plan. So I still think Skithrix is really strong, but there is an issue where like if your entire deck isn't Infect, it's not... It has to do all the work on its own. Now, if you're really, really heavy black, you could. But the world where you are able to pay 2 black to play Skithrix and also hold up 2 black to regenerate Skithrix, that's very heavy black. If you're playing mono black, it would be amazing. But I think that is probably what you want. If you can't regenerate this card, you just slam it and then you just kill it immediately. Obviously, that sucks. But it can just kill your opponent with 3 swings. If they can't block 3 times, they're dead. Also, it works really well with pump spells. So if you're able to pump this card, we have like a grow extra arms in this deck, or this set. So you're randomly playing like green-black, even though it's not really supported, but you could if you had Skithrix. You give a +4/+4, you deal 8 damage to them, they only need 2 more poison counters and they're dead. So that is really important to remember with Infect as opposed to Toxic. I still think this card is like an A. I'm going to give this like an A-, because I think it is obviously a bomb. It does kill your opponent on its own, but you just need to remember that it doesn't deal damage. It just doesn't. And that can be the really hard part about Infect, or just having one Infect card in your deck. So just be mindful of that. But this card's very strong, very scary, and runs away with the game. So yes, kill on sight is what you say to that. Really like it. Next up is Hex. It's a 4 black for a sorcery. It says destroy 6 target creatures. Ah, only 1 mana to kill each creature? That's amazing. Yeah, this is an F. You should not be putting Hex into your deck. Hex is really bad. And the reason Hex is really bad is because, well, first of all, it's 6 mana. That's very expensive. You do get a huge effect, but it doesn't say destroy up to 6 target creatures. It just says destroy 6 target creatures. So to cast the spell, to even put it on the stack, you have to have 6 legal targets. And just count how many times your opponent has 6 creatures, like, all at the same time. A lot of the time, this is kind of like this board wipe where you have to kill some of yours, like hopefully not all of your creatures, but you will have to target some of your creatures, which feels bad. And it's a board wipe that can't be cast if there's only 5 creatures on the battlefield. So you're in this weird state of like, I want them to play more creatures, which you already want with the board wipe, but then if they don't, because you're not blocking, because you don't want to trade, because you don't want creatures to die, because you want to cast your Hex, then you might be searching for a card so that you can play a creature and then try to target it. It just seems awful. Like, don't play this card. It's like a way worse board wipe, even though it feels like it could be great. It's really, really bad. Yeah, Hex is just an F. F. Next up, we have Shock. It's a single red for an instant. Shock deals 2 damage to any target. You know what's shocking is that this card is just in the set. Like, this isn't, like, I don't understand why this was part of the bonus sheet. They just want to give it new art. Like, how many times do we have to give Shock new art? Like, we already have one in the actual set. Okay, so you get like, ooh, you rolled the dice and like 1 in 24 packs has an extra Shock in it, you know, like, it's just funny. I mean, Shock is good. I think it's a B-. That's what I gave like the regular one, but it's just so funny that this is on the bonus sheet when it's just in the set too. Just hilarious. What a weird decision. Like, okay, sure. All right. Shock, B-. Take it. But don't be, like, I guess you get super excited. You could have 2 Shocks in the same pack. That's cool. And you're picking 2, so you pick 2 Shocks? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's, you get to pick 2 Shocks to start the draft. That's so funny. What a weird thing. Anyway, next up is Winds of Change. It's a single red for a sorcery. Each player shuffles the cards from their hand into their library, then draws that many cards. I don't think we want to play this either. This is like an F. Just because you're not, like, the best effects that do this, it's like, you don't have any cards. Your opponent has a bunch of cards. And you get to, like, draw cards equal to the highest number of cards somebody had in their hand. Those effects are really good. This one doesn't. This one just says you just draw as many cards as you put in your library. So, 1 mana mulligan, kind of. And force your opponent to mulligan, but, like, I don't know. You don't know what their hand is. I think it's bad. Don't play Winds of Change. Just not for limited. Next up, we have Thrill of Possibility, which is 1 in red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card and draw 2 cards. Cool. We have a card that's almost exactly like this in the main set. It's called Romantic Rendezvous. It's a sorcery, so sure, this is a little bit different. But I also think that effect was just discard a card, draw 2 cards, and this says as an additional cost to cast. So you could discard a card and then get this countered, which kind of sucks. But you do have instant speed. However, I think the strength of this card in the set is that you want to use Mayhem with it. And so you want to discard cards that you can play that turn. And so if you do it on your opponent's turn, you can't cast your creatures because you can't cast creatures on your opponent's turn. Besides like the 1 flash creature that we have. So I think this is fine. It's like a C. Yeah, it's like definitely playable. It like has a role. But the instant speed part of it is almost like a downside because you might just forget. You might forget that Mayhem is the way that it is instead of Madness. And so don't do that. But yeah, it's like a C. Next up, we have Goblin Bombardment, which is 1 and a red for an enchantment. Sacrifice a creature. This enchantment deals 1 damage to any target. Goblin Bombardment is definitely a good card. It's hefty. It's strong. Very scary. The one thing about this is that we don't have a ton of token generators in red. We have some in white-green. So if you happen to just like shoehorn this Goblin Bombardment into your deck, that's great. But we don't have crazy number of token generators. It doesn't feel like. And like there isn't really a white-red archetype. There's like red-green. Definitely don't want to be sacrificing your creatures in that one. And red-black, where like maybe we could get a couple. I still think it's playable. I think it's like a C+, because there is the thing where you attack with all your creatures, they get down to 2, and then you can sacrifice your whole board and shoot it at their face, which does just like stop them from winning the game, and just like kills them on the spot. Any situation where you can just like keep your opponent from having an extra turn is really good, but this is much better when you just have tons and tons, just like creatures everywhere. You do obliterate your opponent with this card. So very strong, but like a C+. Definitely needs to be, it can be much better in certain decks, but think about how many expendable creatures you have with this card. Next up, we have Najeela, the Blade Blossom. It's 2 and a red for a 3/2 legendary creature, human warrior. It says whenever a warrior attacks a warrior, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. And you can pay Wooburg, which is white, blue, black, red, green, and untap alt attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase and activate only during combat. Cool. 3 mana, 3/2. You attack with this, because this is a warrior. You make a 1/1 warrior. It doesn't say non-token warrior, so then that warrior can keep attacking and make more warriors. And it doesn't say whenever 1 or more warriors. So you attack with Najeela and you get a warrior. Next turn you attack with Najeela and the warrior, you get 2 warriors. And you just keep doing that over and over again. Now, the Wooburg part of this card is probably not going to happen. You could build in such a way that you could get it, but it also is a very aggressive card, so I don't think our mana base is strong enough to be playing a bunch of tap lands and trying to curve out and kill our opponent. But this effect is very strong. It's fairly easy to trade off with the Najeela, however. And in the rest of the set, there are only 3 other warriors. One is rare, it's green-black. One is uncommon, it's green-red. That's the one you'd probably be more excited about. And then there's a common that's green. So this is probably in a Gruul deck, even though it kind of looks like a Boros card. I think it's a Gruul card where maybe you get a couple of those other warriors and then you get something going. And then in that deck, it's probably like a B. It can take over the game, but I think that, it's so easy to just like block this card that I think it's probably, you know what? I'm going to be very nice with that. I'm going to give it like a B-. I think that, I think it's definitely can be a scary card, and it snowballs quite well. If you have this and Goblin Bombardment, that's sick. That sounds like a great time. But yeah, anyway, B- for Najeela. Next up, we have Unexpected Windfall, which is 2 red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. You draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. So this is twice as much mana as Thrill of Possibility, which we saw earlier, but you get 2 treasure tokens. I do like that. It's kind of funny, actually. I was thinking, oh my gosh, wow, what a value. You get to like cast this spell, And then you can use the treasure tokens to pay for your mayhem. But you could also just play a 2-mana version of this, and then you have 2 mana left over. So it's kind of the same thing. It does fix you though, and it does help you build up to really big turns where it's like end step, discard something, create 2 treasure tokens. Next turn have like 6 or 7 mana available to me, and so there could be some Gruul decks that would actually like this card. And it definitely helps with some of the double pipped cards they have in that archetype. So yeah, I still think this is like a C, C+. I think I might like this one a bit more just because the treasure seems like a big help. But it's probably just a regular C though. Now that I was kind of thinking of it in that situation, you could just play Romantic Rendezvous for the discard effect if that's what you're trying to do. So I think there might be, there might be like a Gruul deck that cares more about this because you're ramping. And then I think maybe Romantic Rendezvous is more for the Rakdos deck. So we'll see. We'll have to see. But I still like this card. I think it's definitely worth playing. And it was really strong in Standard until they power crept it and make a better version. Next up, we have Relentless Assault, which is 2 red for a sorcery. Untap all creatures that attacked this turn. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. 4 mana for a extra combat is like, this one's good. I like this one a lot. This is like a B+, 4 mana to get extra combat. That gives you enough space where you can get an extra combat and maybe play a creature if it's late in the game. Do you know what I mean? So like, you can do more stuff or play this and a removal spell or something because 4 mana is really easy to work around. Once it starts getting a bit more expensive, it's kind of like, this is all I have. Which, to be fair, like, yes, extra combats, this card's only good if you have a big board, if you have creatures that can survive the first combat, then the second one's worth it. Like, all of those things do happen. But the fact that this is 4 mana makes me love it so much more. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this one's better, which is Savage Beating. It's 3 red for an instant. Cast this spell only during combat on your turn. You can choose one. It says creatures you control gain double strike until end of turn, or you can untap all creatures you control after this main phase. There's an additional combat phase, or you can entwine with 1 in red, where you get to do both things. So for 7 mana, you get all your creatures gain double strike, and you get 2 combat steps. So this does have more potential of just obliterating your opponents. I just didn't like it nearly as much because it's more expensive. But I guess 7 mana to kind of win the game if you have the board state. You know what? I actually am going back. I was going to give this like a B, but the flexibility of this card kind of outweighs the mana cost of the other one. So I'm going to go back. Relentless Assault gets a B. This gets a B+. Just because, well, it's got double strike on it. And you know me. I love double strike, so we definitely gotta do some stuff. None of these can be A's because you need a board state. Like it does nothing by itself, so you need to have something else going on. But yeah, Savage Beating, super sweet card. Also love seeing this art come to Arena. Yeah, get some old Dark Steel stuff, Mirrodin stuff. Hell yeah. Next up, we have Heroic Intervention, which is 1 and a green for an instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This is like a C. Like, Heroic Intervention is a huge commander card because the format revolves around board wipes. Like, you wipe the board so much in that format that this becomes really good to save all your stuff. But in Draft, in this set, I think we have 1 board wipe, and it's black. And most of the time, this is just 2 mana save 1 thing. It does have the ability to, like, you attack with all your people and then you Heroic Intervention and keep them. So if you try to do more combat-y stuff, it's kind of like a combat trick. So in that situation, it's like a B or a C+. But if you're using it as your opponent's going to kill one of your creatures, you're just spending basically an extra mana to keep it alive, because most of our protection spells only cost 1, and I much prefer protection spells that cost 1. So am I going to play this over like just a regular protection spell for 1? I might. Because the situations where you have a big board state and you're attacking to another big board state and there's some trades happening and you get to slam this, that is awesome, but it doesn't happen all that much. But if you can save 2 creatures with this, I think it's probably worth it. So like a C+, but I like some of the other I'd much rather use my protection to basically counter a spell for my opponent than kind of do the combat tricky thing. Because people tend to sniff out combat tricks, even if it's not. It also doesn't like make them stronger. So it's really hard to make it so it's exactly what you want. Where there's like a bunch of trades and then you get to indestructible. But yeah, C+. Next up, we have Tangle, which is 1 and a green for an instant. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn. Each attacking creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. All right, so a fog plus a whole board stun. Okay, technically it's not a whole board because, you know, your opponent isn't necessarily attacking with all of their creatures, but all the ones that they wanted to attack with, that's pretty fun. And just like 2 mana, I don't lose any life and you can't attack me next turn. I like that. I think this is like a B. I enjoy Tangle. I like fog effects. I don't know if it's like the old Magic player in me from being a kid, but fog always has a special place in my heart, and especially tapping down their creatures. For 2 mana, I feel like this is really cool. I like this a lot, especially if you're in a race with somebody where, like, you know, they're ahead on the race. You get to break their momentum and also tap all their shit, so you just get to, to smoke them the next turn. Yeah, let's give Tangle a B, and yeah, I think it's good. Next up, we have Arachnogenesis, which is 2 and a green for an instant. Create X 1/2 green spider creature tokens with reach, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn by non-spider creatures. Okay, so we have another fog type thing, but you get to make a bunch of tokens. That's pretty cool. Every single creature that's attacking, you get to make your own creature and then prevent their damage. Except the non-spider part of this card usually reads, all my spiders get to deal damage and none of your creatures deal damage. But don't forget, this is the Spider-Man set. Everyone's a freaking spider. Like, it doesn't... It depends on what deck you're playing against. Like, there are some villain stuff, so there's not as, you know... In those matchups, you won't have as many spiders, so yes, it will work that way. But if you're playing against like a white-green deck or like a red-green or a white-blue, kind of like all the ones except for like Dimir and Rakdos, they're going to have like spiders that are attacking you. And so it doesn't prevent those spider damages. So it doesn't work nearly as well as it would have in just a non-spider set, which makes this card really interesting. Because now instead of like the commander thing of like, oh yeah, you didn't have any spiders, this is like, I really have to think about this. Okay, so that spider's going to deal damage, but these creatures aren't going to deal damage. And then some of my other spiders that I have that aren't even part of this card will also deal damage. So how do I want to line everything up? I think this makes this card really, really interesting, and I would really like to play it still. I still think it's a B, but it's just such a fun... I love that they added this card. It's played, like, we're going to play it so differently than we normally do, which I enjoy a lot from this. So we're giving this a B as well. Has the potential to fog, but also really the big thing is make a bajillion creatures. That's all you want. Next up, we have Beast Within, which is 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. We can kill anything, including lands. That's really important. But you want to kill one of your opponent's lands and give them a 3/3. A 3/3 is big. It's a big old guy. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to give my opponent a 3/3 creature. It's probably not worth the trade. But the fact that you can blow up artifacts and enchantments and lands and stuff is helpful. But in the end, this is probably like a D. This is not a removal spell I want to lean on because a 3/3 is so huge in limited. It's just way too much value that you're giving your opponent. Yeah, so D for Beast Within. Next up, we have Hunter's Insight, which is 2 and a green for an instant. It says choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. This can draw so many cards. So many cards. You do have to have a creature, though, and it does have to deal damage to your opponent. So there's a very specific time you can cast this, and the times that it actually works out are amazing. The times it rots in your hand, it sucks. So I think this is a C. I think it's a cool card. You want to play 1 copy of this, and hopefully your creature has trample. That's what I'm going to say about that. But yeah, I mean, it can draw you just so many cards. So I do like cards like this. But we had one in Outlaws of Thunder Junction that was like, oh, you always draw 2 cards or whatever. But it had a bunch of versatility too, because you could give the creature trample, you could put counters on it and stuff. So because this literally just says 3 mana, draw the cards, it's not nearly as good. But like a C, I would play it. Next up, we have Parallel Lives. It is 3 and a green for an enchantment. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. Arachnogenesis, we get twice as many spiders. That's so exciting. Like I was saying before, we don't have a crazy number of token things in this set. And in general, playing 4 mana do-nothing enchantments that need other cards that have a very specific line of text that says create a token, we're probably not that interested in this. It's much better in constructed things and commander. So leave it to those formats. This is an F in draft. Do not play Parallel Lives. Next up, we have Arasta of the Endless Web. It's 2 green for a 3/5 legendary enchantment creature spider. It has reach. It says whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. Okay, it's already like a 4 mana 3/5, which is really just a great body. Like, that's a great body. It blocks super well. People have a hard time getting through this. And if your opponent's going to use a removal spell, like they just try to kill it, at least you get a creature out of the deal, which also has reach. The only thing I don't like about this card is that I didn't say this about Arachnogenesis, but I should have. But all these like old cards that are making spiders are 1/2s, and a bunch of the spiders we make in the new set are 2/1s, and so that's going to be kind of annoying. But I think this card is good. This is like a B+ level thing where it's like your opponent's going to be one to cast instants and sorceries, and it's kind of like every time they're like targeting one of your things to kill it, you get a spider out of the deal, or they're drawing cards, you get spiders. I don't know. I like this. It could be better in certain situations where opponents are going off and going crazy. We don't really have a spells deck necessarily, but yeah, I like Arasta. Even just the body alone is just a great card. So yeah, nice. Make me some tokens, but yeah. She got a big butt. Next up, we have Silk Guard, which is X and a green for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to X target creatures you control. Auras, equipment, and modified creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. And what an interesting line of text of like your auras and equipment gain hexproof. Like the modified creatures I would expect because this modifies them with counters. But the auras and equipment, I love that that's just the extra like just thrown on. Also kind of weird that this is in green instead of white-blue, which is the modified deck. So that kind of is a weird thing about this card. But, all in all, you get to put counters on all your creatures at instant speed. That's pretty cool. And they gain hexproof. So the other fun thing about this, that the mode that isn't very obvious, is that you can just pay green to give your modified creatures hexproof, right? Like this gives them modifications if you need to add that. But if you already have counters on stuff and your opponent tries to kill one of your creatures, this does just, counter that spell for a single green, which that versatility is very, very good. But yeah, 4 mana, put 3 counters on things, save them or whatever. It has the same type of feel of like Heroic Intervention where you don't need to give hexproof to all of them. But if you have extra mana and you get to put counters on stuff, that's great. So I think this is also like a B. I think this card's very nice. And randomly, if your opponent tries to snipe one of your auras, you just, nope, can't get rid of that. Can't get rid of my equipment. So like a B for Silk Guard. I do like this card. But another one that you just need to, it doesn't do anything, so you need creatures on the battlefield. But that's basically all it asks. Well, sorry, it asks for you to have a lot of creatures on the battlefield. So maybe it's closer to like a B-. Okay, fine. It's like a B-. But I do like Silk Guard. All right, we got 2 more. Next up is Terminate. It is black and red for an instant. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Oh no, Skithrix! No! It can't be regenerated. Obviously, that barely matters except for that one card. But this is really good. This is like just straight B. Rakdos is going to be so happy that they have this card. It's the only gold card in the bonus sheet that is actually part of any of the archetypes that we have. We have one more gold card, and it's not part of the allied color pairs. So I think this card is just solid. This is a B level card. Take it and love it. Next up, we have Alibo, Ancient Witness. It's 3 red white for a 4/5 legendary artifact creature golem. It says other artifact creatures you control have haste, and whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attack, Alibo deals X damage to any target, and you scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. Boros is not an archetype in the format, and artifacts as like care about artifact stuff is almost leaning a little closer to blue. So is there a world we're playing like Jeskai artifact stuff? Probably not. We'd probably like, this does seem like a fun build around of like, oh, well, I guess I got this card. I'll first pick this plus another artifact creature and just try to go into that. The actual artifact creatures that we have aren't really amazing. There's a couple good that like, there's really good rare ones, but you'll have to be lucky to get some of those because they're just generically good. So this is kind of a weird include. So I think I'm trending towards like, this is an F, you shouldn't play this card. But if you do have the deck and build around it, it is powerful. Like attacking and dealing like extra damage equal to all your tapped artifacts is great. You just like dome your opponent for 3 and then also have 3 attackers. Like that's pretty cool. Yeah, so it's either like an F or an A. I don't really know. It's almost always going to be an F, and then there will be sometimes it's an A. Just because artifacts also isn't really a theme in the set anyway. It's not like this is Boros and the artifact theme is in like white-blue, and so you just splash the red to play this. It's like there just isn't an artifact theme. There's like some equipments and other things, but it's just not one of the things we're really doing. So it's really funny to see this card as an addition. But I like it when they give us these little like, oh, but you can dream. You could dream of the deck that you build the off-color Alibo artifact thing, and maybe it'll work out. So yeah, I hope that you do, and I hope you show me that deck list whenever you do it. But anyway, folks, this has been all the bonus sheet cards from the Spider-Man / through the Omenpaths set. Let me know what you think about my ratings in the comments below. If I was completely right about stuff or super, super wrong, you absolutely need to play Parallel Lives in your draft deck. Let me know. I will listen to whatever you have to say. But anyway, folks, I'm Regular Zach, and I will see you all next time. Bye.